Wednesday, February 11th, 9:32 a.m. Top of the morning to you traders out there. So, I did not do a little check-in after the close yesterday. So, it is obviously in the morning. The market has just opened. Um, I think I'm not sure where I updated last time. But we were again back on SanDisk, ping pong balled around. So after the open, I was like, okay, I feel pretty good. Take one share. We ended up closing lower, looking pretty good into the bearish side. Again, like I said, technicals never really. I say it a bunch, but again, you always look at technicals. It doesn't really mean that much to me. But it looked good bearish. The trading volume going down, the overall just feel of the stock throughout the day, and so it looked good into the close. And then typically for everything, there's a hard reset of sentiment into the next day. And so we wake up today, nice bad luck bread. But within this is where again you can't control these things, especially if you're having a short position overnight. And so it's just a position. This is where your position sizing comes into play, where it's one share, down $27, but that stinks. Again, not trying to lose any money legitimately, but here making some content, so I'm not too bummed about it. But point being is it just we have this ping pong ball kind of depreciating, bouncing down. I don't like the word depreciating there. But we had this little fun thing that we documented. That was a fun, that's stock trading for you. But, you open or you close looking really strong, meaning in this position we're short, so looking weak. And then the next day just kind of opens up. In the way you don't want it. In here, again, between this, if we want to pick technical levels between 550 and 600, it's kind of this consolidation range for me. Definitely not going to add here, and definitely not going to close here. And so I would probably hold this at this point if it were to just go into the. Again, I don't know. With the momentum stock, you just don't know what it's going to do. And so I'm just kind of holding here for now. Where are we at American Eagle? Whole market looked pretty strong on the futures. And so another pop-up again, absolutely there was no chance to close or preserve any profit on this one for today. And so we had a chance kind of yesterday, maybe could have tried, but it's right around higher confidence on this one, less volatility, less hype. And so we'll check back in after the market, the open dies down. No real opinion. Again, it's one of these things where it's like the whole market does trade kind of in unison, or at least the sentiment reflects. As we showed, you go American Eagle to SanDisk to something else. They trade the same, but it's not really like an indication of to enter or to exit a trade. It's just you'll see the overall. If everything's trading up, everything it all kind of switch at the same time because the sentiment's all the same. So that is what I have for you this morning. Just a quick check-in. See you later. Wednesday, February 11th, 11:22 a.m. Checking in real quick. No real update. The morning session has finished. Oops, I have now disappeared again. Just very quickly, the stimulus, we had the jobs number. All of these like minor economic events, you get some sort of buying pressure. Could we even determine if that's the jobs report or just this natural fluctuation within the morning open? I have no idea. Regardless, for our trades, we are sideways, a little underwater on both, but both within. This is American Eagle, and then SanDisk. This is, again, I consider this one kind of the 550 to 600, the channel carved out by momentum, the range of which these things, a move above or below, would indicate a sentiment shift or a momentum shift. And so kind of using momentum and sentiment interchangeably, but this one's kind of stinkies, but not going to close this and not going to add to it. American Eagle closer. This one, SanDisk could go up, and I would not be very surprised. Either of them could go up, but this one still just to me just feels like any sort of price action over here to the upside is just supported by the overall market sentiment. So we had that jobs number, nothing really else to comment on. See you on the next one. Wednesday, February 11th, 4:34 p.m. What's up, everybody? Checking back in with our video log for trading. Not much to say. I was not even on
the market, or like sitting here at my terminal or checking anytime past like 1 p.m. I'm pretty much just sideways on everything. Going to keep it real short. Didn't watch the price action. This looks, again, the same type of analysis as yesterday. Another day within this channel. Still expecting a breakdown. Expected it 2 days ago. Expected it today. Now it's still looking again. Some of this little bit of upward something at the beginning of the day, and then just faded out throughout. So nothing there. SanDisk had this little pop. It kind of had a little bit more staying power. Again, did not watch the price action at any point past 1 p.m. Same thing with the technicals. Could be bullish, could be bearish. Not really focusing on that at all for SanDisk. But overall, market seems, what's the SPY at? 691. Again, without listening to the commentary, I don't really have much to say. So pretty much sideways for our trades, and I will see you on the next one.
February 12th, 9:56 a.m. Welcome back, my super traders. As you can see, we had some great moves directly in our favor, as stock trading always goes. No, but like I said, did not watch the actual trading action of anything past 1 p.m. yesterday. So did not see how it closed up in terms of the actual feeling the trading. Technically, everything looked fine in terms of kind of just going sideways, looking kind of good. Here's our position over at American Eagle. We opened up with a gap up and a strong kind of like appreciation up here into the 25.7. And so on the daily, again, right now it looks kind of good in terms of going back down. But point being is we've had a break in like this momentum sentiment, meaning just the trading channel or kind of the pattern where it's like this is different. And so it was different to the upside, which I expected it to go to the downside, obviously. And so, but in this position, it's just, again, my sizing is in a place where I'm still confident in the trade, and so I just hold it. And so no rocket science breakthrough insights. It's just a cyclical stock without much innovation, expected it to go down. And so we do have, again, the dividend consideration, but if you have a position size, which we now do, 295, on something like this, I probably wouldn't want to go over like 350 until being actually in the profit, if that were to happen. But just a position size and a time frame where I'm okay holding. And that's just always kind of how I do it for if things go against your favor, get the money when you can and have a position size that's reasonable for your account, risk tolerance, and time frames. And so SanDisk, again, not exciting over there. Nothing exciting on American Eagle, and also nothing exciting over SanDisk. So same type of thing here. Again, I keep saying this momentum. We have a gap up from the close. I would say I was watching the price action around 1 in the morning last night, doing a little bit of editing. And so I did see this kind of break up here. And so I would have closed here, but this was a liquidity issue in terms of Schwab does not execute trades. And so you see this price action not moving, and then you'll see the ticker, like the actual bid ask, going up and changing. That's just because the security's trading, but not on this brokerage. So I would have closed it just to try to preserve it, because I see this break upwards. And then certainly if it was going to, in my opinion, break above this kind of normal momentum sentiment for the price action, a clear movement to the upside, to me it was just going to continue upwards. So didn't get to do that, but again, trying to dance around on this one just to make content, talk you through the sentiment changes. That's really what I'm trying to document. Obviously not trying to lose any money, but documenting just the thought process of these different sentiment changes when you're in a trade. So also not exciting on this side. That's fun. But this one, even with, I wouldn't say, for it to get the momentum back again, if we get another good positive news cycle. But I just don't think, once you have any sort of just break of the momentum on the appreciation side, it's really hard to regain it. And so still really neutral in terms of this will go up to 800 to 1,000. I mean, I'm less likely that would happen, but wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But I'm assuming, again, I'm not going to add to this. This is a position where I'll just, again, hold until I hope it comes back down. But, again, a position size where I'm okay holding it with no dividend specifically on this one. This one I'm comfortable holding for a while. But again, really the duration in which I would hold it is based on the position size. Again, American Eagle has a dividend, but 12 cents is what it's been historically for the reasonable past. And so it's like you're looking at $35 as opposed to 300 share position size. Of $1 a share is $300. So it's like the dividend is irrelevant to the position size. To close it, try to dance around, so on and so forth. So nothing exciting, nothing we wanted to see, but this is where we just this was again with my account size real type of leverage that I've taken without any sort of hedging. And so if I was actually trying to trade the SanDisk for money, realistically, I wouldn't have had done anything though. Because realistically, the price, without that jump around from trying to go from 690 to above 700, realistically, my price average would have been that 662 region. And so coming down to like the 530s would have been the lowest. So just having that one initial share. So I wouldn't have closed that. And so realistically, I would just have kind of been back at zero today and just kind of held through there. And so jumping around has not been beneficial, but we did not miss out on some big trade. But this is what we were saying in the previous vlogs, is like right here, it looks like it's just looks bearish, and it kind of pops up, and then it's kind of neutral. And then it kind of looks bullish, but this one, again, technicals, kind of looks all choppy. This could go really either way. If it closes down hard, it will look bearish, and if it closes up, it will look bullish. And so again, the given sentiment, price action momentum change of a given day is the most indicative of what you should be focusing on. And then you just kind of, at least in my opinion, you just kind of always reference these day-to-day charts, looking for disparity, a 3-month disparity against a 3-year trend, a 3-day disparity amongst a 3-month trend, stuff to that effect. And so that's what we're looking at this morning. It is 10:02 a.m. The morning, again, trade finishing up right around 10:17. It's about breakfast time. And so got some Joby. Joby's back down sub 10. I might add a little bit more here. But, yeah, I'm just kind of holding and, just hoping we go back in the right direction. But we'll see here. So this did retreat off pretty hard. And so another one of those things where it's like, will look really bearish, but it did. This one was a break of sentiment momentum out of that little channel. And so SanDisk might have been, but it's still within that 540 to 660 where it's like post earnings appreciation, but not as momentous into the 700s. And so we'll see how this one ends up. This is not too exciting, but what are you going to do? That's what I got for you. Check in later.
Thursday, February 12th, 1:27 p.m. Checking in with our trading vlog just after the afternoon hour. Again, not super stringent on the time frames, but for my observations, this is typically after the 115 to 127-ish. That's when the lunch trade starts to die down, or just these spikes of momentum at the open and at lunch. That's kind of the two big times. Regardless, nothing super exciting. We did get our Joby price average below $10. So the first thing I wanted to comment today that came to mind was position sizing on, like, how do I establish my initial position size? Because, again, you're trading a move, meaning you have some sort of expectation of where it can go, where it's been, how intense it's trading on a given 3 days, 3 months, 3-year type of cycling. But, right, by the nature of you taking a position, you're trying to make money. And so you have some sort of idea, it's going to go up or down, you go long or you go short. But for the position size, it should be really the 90% of what's going to drive that is your risk tolerance, right? If you have $1 million to blow, or $10 to blow, or X amount of dollars to blow, you can go on here and you can pick anything. You can make some money, you can lose it all, not care, go about your day, so on and so forth. But like most people, I'm assuming you're not just throwing money at the wind, and so you want to make money, and so these securities are moving. There's some sort of disparity. Things get oversold, things get overbought. You're trying to identify those, and so you have your thesis, and you're like, okay, I'm going to enter a trade. And so my initial sizing is the biggest consideration is always the risk tolerance. Within a reasonable, the position sizing is what can generate or control your actual dollar figures. The move of the security is how, like, the levels of where you think it seems reasonable. For example, American Eagle. We've had, again, this kind of weird, kind of open up weird. I'm going to finish my thought, then we'll get back to this specifically. But this has been, this kind of channel trading between, let's just call it 23 and 24.50. And so when it's at that 24 range right off this open, you short it, you think it's going to go down. The sizing, I make the overall movement of the security kind of gives me my guidelines as to where I expect this thing to go. And then I pick a size where is if the move goes in the direction that I want, the overall move will be enough for me to want to take profit. We have Mr. Gusman just popped in here. But the point being is if like you take a size that's too small, like let's say you think American Eagle was going, you've been following me along, you say, oh, this day was kind of, we had a little fluke at the open, so I want to short it here. And so you have and there's no real liquidity here. And so when you look at your daily charts, I guess we'll just pop on over here. But so when you're looking at a daily wick chart, right, you don't see this like pre-market and aftermarket action. So you see these patterns and you're like, oh yeah, this is a double top or whatever other nonsense, a blow off top here. Genuinely, like the sentiment momentum, this break above into here, as reflected in the chart, it was different than the past probably about 4 or 5 trading sessions. But regardless, we already have a position. There's no real liquidity. I would have put like a stop loss somewhere in there, but knowing how this trades, meaning you typically open up with a spread of 30 to 40 cents. So today we gapped up entirely. There was no reasonable expectation of liquidity to secure that profit. Now, as that's to me the biggest, most immediate thing that's going to change is when you're looking over here at our watch list. Sometimes the screen gets cut off when I compress the videos, but so I'm not sure how far left you can see, but on our watch list, if I can move. Hopefully, the only thing that I cut out of here is my actual account number. But if you can see there, and it should be in the screen by now, but all of these little NVIDIA, Mara, Micron, Meta, those 24-hour things, that means they trade on Schwab 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then you can go to Robinhood where they trade, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Point being is this 24-hour, this opening and closing of the stock market, it does not reflect any genuine inherent market dynamics. So that to me is the most immediate thing that will change. Is just everything will be 24-hour trading. This exchange, that exchange doesn't really matter. This brokerage, that brokerage doesn't really matter. I've obviously voiced my concerns with financial institutions, money makers managing money and selling financial products is I just don't see the necessary, and it provides a lot of ability to be manipulated or to be misused, and I don't see any benefit to it being used. And so back to the position sizing, meaning I already have a position, so that's what I'm doing. I did add to it. We added small. I'm about, like I said, 350 is kind of just, again, that's my position sizing, my account balance, my income, what I'm willing to risk, being currently just trading mostly for content and to, again, just document these different things. But where's the ads? The order history, trade history. And so we bought, or those are my Joby buys, good, nice buys. Look at that, at 963. I don't know if they'll be good or not, but I wanted sub $10 Joby. We have secured that, kind of, because I will sell it profit immediately. But regardless, we did get some sells into American Eagle in this 25.69, nice, 25.69, nice. Small ads, but good ads. But point being is, if you were following me along and you're like, hey, I think Brad's talking some sense. We're obviously in the wrong direction right now, but he's talking enough sense where it's like, I wanted to open a position here. Right, you're going to take a position size where this move, right? If you were trying to play this move, which would have been, this blowout top. If you're watching the morning, you're saying, okay, if I think it's bearish, I agree with Brad's assessment or my own assessment, and that has also generated a bearish sentiment. You're going to want to take a position size where it's meaningful. And so then that meaningful comes to you. And so let's just use $100 because that's what I would consider as meaningful to me. Granted, I will not really even take it out of my account, but it does something on my day-to-day life, right? Like I can go buy 5 books for $20 at $100. I can go, have a tank of gas to go do my hikes or whatever. So way back when, I'm talking about always have like a goal outside of the market. Right now, currently, I have no goals. I'm just doing my research. I'm not trying, like I have no real need or want or desire to make more money because I don't have constitutional rights. Like I would be trading if I could meaningfully, but it is what it is. And so, meaning I have no goals outside of the market. So there's no, besides generating content, there's no real purpose for me to be trading. But you're going to want to take your initial entry into a position. You're going to want to make a position size that is, if it goes against you, it's not going to blow up your account or be catastrophic. You can sit through that position and hopefully get to a profit eventually. Maybe your timing was a little off. But also at the same time, is if the trade does go into your direction in a small fashion, maybe you don't get a huge, right? You're trading SanDisk and it spikes up to this 725, so maybe you don't hit the peak, and typically you never will, but you're going to try to. And so maybe you don't hit it, it goes against you, you're okay holding the position, you just kind of sit there. But if it goes in your direction and you're in the profit, that's why I said you always immediately secure that, because if it goes against you, you can re-enter. And so the position size where the move you're playing is if it goes in your favor, but for me, where I'm saying like even like $50. I mean, anything where it's like a tank of gas, a lunch, it's something where it's like I wouldn't take it out of my account even with all things considered, but it's something. And so you want your initial position size where if the trade does go into your favor, not even for the big move, but just slightly in your favor, it becomes a something. And so, right, if you get stopped out at plus $5, $10, $20, right, it's I don't know, a used video game. Well, it's a pack of socks, whatever. Because again, the money comes when the money comes with stock trading. There's no, besides fixed income, you're buying treasury bonds, you're buying some sort of dividend stock. And even dividend stocks is still so variable. You can just change your dividend. You can still just go out of business. And so fixed income is this mythical dragon that everyone kind of wants. I want this amount of dollars on this day every single time guaranteed. That's not how money works. You live in an environment sufficiently liquid where by having a bank account, you're directly inserted to all of this consideration. And so no real opinions technically, just wanted to cover again your initial position sizing. And so, whereas in back to American Eagle, again, this is the one I'm kind of trading for a little bit of money. If I didn't have a position, I would have definitely initiated larger. I added small because I already had 350 is kind of where I want to be for this trade. Right now, if it goes in my favor and I can add higher, probably go up towards like 1,000 shares. But again, that's always with this consideration of what we talked about at the beginning of this little segment. You don't see the pre-market and post-market really reflected in these day-to-day charts. And so that's why, if you're an active money manager, is the only reason you should be trading like this. But I mean, literally, even not that. I mean, sitting here watching the price action, because like the lunch past 1300 or 1 p.m. yesterday, I didn't watch the market at all. So you see the closing prices, but you don't feel the progression. You don't see the spikes, like we referenced in the brief morning segment. This spike in SanDisk at like 1 a.m. when I was editing a video, and it's like I would have sold there. But again, that's just because I'm trying to jump around, right? So if I were to sell, at 620, say right when this jump really happened, it was again right around 130, and so I saw this jump, pretty much this candle right here. So even if I rush to liquidate this after hours, a different type of order, way less liquidity, way less, we're pretty much right back at the same price point. And so a lot of these stocks where you see these, you feel when you enter a position or you're managing a position, you feel the most relevant thing is the day of sentiment. And so you don't feel that if you're not watching it at all, right? Like if I just take Johnny on the street and he doesn't own one of these shares, he's not watched or he doesn't care, he doesn't see any of this shit. So if you're a stock trader and you go to a new security that you don't typically follow, you don't see any of like the momentum sentiment shifts that actually cause the price change, right? The reaction, even the news cycle, right? Something will move and then you'll go on StockTwits and then everyone will be talking about it. But the stock has already moved. So all of this stuff is always trailing. And so, again, no technicals over here, just holding here. But this would have been I do see this kind of like rejection because like the overall market, again, the whole sentiment of the day is going to reflect the same stuff. Here's the S&P 500. And so, all right, we kind of bounce around, then we go down. Here's American Eagle. Right, so this was kind of this motion right here to me was stock specific, of just kind of like this relief. We've been trading sideways for 3 to 4 days. I expected it to break to the downside. We kind of broke to the upside, but then it's right back to like, is this going to have a sustained motion? You need continuing buying pressure to have appreciation. And so most people are used to trading stocks where you go long, and it's just like it's so much easier to rely on just this fading, less volume, less news cycling, less people talking about it. Everything just kind of drifts down. And so obviously you don't want to catch SanDisk or Micron when it's, or Google or Apple or these big companies that are appreciating with fundamentals, and then get caught again on a short position that, one, you can't manage, or two, that takes like 3 years to go back to your price. Obviously you're trying to avoid that. But just long versus short, to me, just the way these dynamics currently present, and I don't know what reasonable time frames are for like currency development, consumer sentiment, being an informed consumer. I don't really have any meaningful time frames. 3-year sentiment seems relevant for the stock market. Everything else seems irrelevant to me. And then on a given move, 3 days as opposed to a 3-month trend is like the structuring that I have. And then the intraday time frames that we've covered a bunch. And so, point being, stock specific to American Eagle, I see this as just like kind of against, it doesn't follow the exact trend of the market, then it kind of falls down. So I see this again as a blowout kind of top, which is I kind of also saw these as well. And so again, we'll keep referencing some technicals, but again, this looks super bearish, especially if it closes below the 24.19. Anything below 24, super looking bearish, because it broke the sentiment. That's the biggest thing I want to document, is these past 3-4 days we've been trading it. This is definitely a breaking of the sentiment, and then it has rejected to the downside. I mean, we're still 1:41 p.m. Again, I'm not trying to rationalize anything. Obviously, I think it's going to go down. That's why I'm short the stock. But there was a break of the momentum of the relevant sentiment, the 3-day cycling. We have rejected this higher position. But again, that's what you want to be taking a position. And you'll feel that, right? It's like, okay, well, it can go up more. It can go up more. You enter the thing and it goes up another 20 cents a share, specific to American Eagle. Like, why didn't I wait? That's all it's all hindsight's 2020. And so by nature of momentum, you have to go against it to be in the right position for when it shifts. And so just kind of get used to that. I mean, but again, your position sizing is what, and stop losses when appropriate, is what makes you protected from any sort of adverse extreme movement. Again, granted, there is some, I would way more rare than a snowball chance in hell or a blue moon, that again you get like some sort of massive personal company announcement intraday where it just like halts without anything, meaning that the market's sufficiently liquid where if you have a hard stop loss, it will be executed, if not exactly at your price, around that price. And again, assuming you're trading liquid securities, or if you're trading something extremely illiquid where the spread is like $1, you know what you're doing. I mean, like, if you're being stupid, I mean, these videos aren't for you at all. Which isn't to say stupid isn't being gambling and speculation, those words don't really mean anything to me. But risk tolerance. If you literally have $10 million and just wanted to throw it at something, it's not good, bad, or anything. It's not trying to trade with the market. It's not trying to trade sensibly. In the same way I talked about that in my poker series, where if you're trying to actually play poker, you can immediately just start gambling anytime. But if there's like a right way to play, there is a right way to trade stocks, and that's reflective of the dynamics that's independent of one person. And so here at American Eagle, again, did not expect this movement. It's kind of whatever. That definitely would have been a great opportunity to enter. Not even in hindsight, but with if you were bearish with the past 4 days that we've been doing this vlog, or week, or whatever it's been. But that was, again, a movement that was outside of like the sentiment progression of the overall market. And so to me, I again, where's the data? Where's the assurance? Where's the proof? It's like, I follow this stuff all the time. I think so. And so SanDisk, again, these price ranges, nothing really. I mean, I'm just still holding one share. It's in enough negative minus $35 where I don't want to close it. And any sort of jumping around to me just makes no sense. But I do feel this is fading, right? We have this. See, this stock has that big momentum where it's like we've appreciated 1,400%. And so we have the overall market start open up and then kind of fade down. This is really kind of reflecting of that. I don't think it's as severe as the S&P, but it's close enough where it's like I don't think American Eagle to me had a sentiment shift. This one is still within that 540 to 650 where it's like nothing really determinant on anything. So still holding one share, won't close this, and won't add to it either. Certainly not between 6 and 700. If it were to break out substantially to the upside, again, two shares is my max on this one because I'm not trying to even trade it to make money. Don't want to lose any money ever, but I'm trying to talk you through the sentiment progressions. Because this is when you can see one of my science videos where it's like, I'm trying to do research, man. This is just a risk reward. You put yourself in the game. You hope it goes in your favor. But there's only so much you can do. And to have the mental drain, I literally don't have mental fatigue. I can sit here and do derivation. It's a physical limit. To just expose yourself financially in the markets just emotionally drains you. It's just like tiring. And then you're like, what did I accomplish? Not even trading for dollar bills. And two, it's just so there's only so many things you can predict, and then it's just risk management. And so to have my headspace at all in here outside of content, I like doing the talk over the content, but to just sit here again over the past 10 years, I have to try to do this to make money, is so profoundly detrimental to every bit of scientific progress that could occur. No one cares, but it's just on a personal level, it's so true. Regardless, that is what I have for you for the technical update. I did want to cover this illiquidity little blip on American Eagle. Regardless of where it ends or closes, I did see a break of the sentiment, so I expect it to be outside of the range. Currently, it's looking like we're going to the downside, but I would imagine if we go to the downside, which I'm betting on, it will break through this, let's call it 23 to the low end by the end of the week. Well, I guess tomorrow's Friday. So we will see. Check back in at the end of the day.